Here is the aorta, and if I move the pulmonary trunk out of the way, you can see clearly that the very first branches off the aorta are the right coronary artery going to the right, see that red vessel, and the left coronary artery going to the left. So these are the first two branches off the aorta, which is why a blood clot that forms in the left atria from AFibs could easily go into these coronary arteries and cause a heart attack. So anyway, right coronary artery, left coronary artery. If I bring this flap back, this is the way I will probably have it during the practical, and almost certainly I will label the left coronary artery right here, and the two major branches off it. There's this branch that goes down the front between the two ventricles, and so it's called the what? If it's in the front, anterior, and between two ventricles, interventricular. So this is called the anterior interventricular because it's in the front and it's between the two ventricles. The other branch off the left coronary artery is this one. You can see it right there. Is that showing up on your view?
A little bit, yeah.
And it is, that is the circumflex artery. Starting around to the back, after a while it gets buried under the veins, but it comes all the way back to the very back.
The blue one?
No, the red one. Okay. Circumflex artery right here. It's buried under the blue, but you can see it as red here. So right here you have the left coronary artery and its two major branches, the anterior interventricular and the circumflex. Blood clots in any of these would be very likely to be lethal because you'd cut off so much blood too. And you'd cut off blood to so many really important muscles, cells. So then what are the branches off the right coronary artery? Here's your right coronary artery. It comes here. This is the margin of the heart, this bending from the front to the back. And right here in the margin is a branch off the right coronary artery called the marginal artery. Then following the right coronary artery around to the back, you have a branch that's going down the back between two ventricles. So what are you going to call that?
Posterior
interventricular. And the anterior and posterior interventricular form an anastomosis. They share blood. They hook up to each other. And the right coronary artery with the circumflex, which is a branch off the left coronary artery, form a anastomosis. So this is the crown, the corona, that the coronary arteries are named for. The arteries are called coronary because they form a crown, corona. The veins are not forming a crown, so they're called cardiac veins. So a lot of people get that wrong in the practical. They'll call them coronary veins and they're not. They're coronary arteries, cardiac veins. So it's best to learn the names of the arteries because they carefully named those. The vein names are kind of nondescript. This is the great cardiac vein, and it comes up the front of the middle and then goes around all the way to the back and dumps into this fat structure in the back called the coronary sinus. And notice the coronary sinus is right next to the inferior vena cava, so it is going to dump the used blood from the heart muscle into the right atrium to go out to the lungs, get rid of CO2, pick up oxygen, right? So that was the great cardiac vein. Coming up the middle of the back here, next to the posterior interventricular, is the middle cardiac vein. It is also going into the coronary sinus and dumping that in there.
So the coronary sinus dumps into the inferior vena cava?
No.
Or just
the coronary sinus dumps into the right atria. The inferior vena cava.
It has its own
They both, yeah, so inferior vena cava dumps into the right atria. Coronary sinus all by its little self dumps into the right atria. They're sitting next to each other.
Okay.
And so middle cardiac vein up the middle of the back, great cardiac vein up the middle of the front and around to the back. Over here next to the marginal artery is the small cardiac vein. See, very small. See that? I don't know if it's showing up on your camera. Small. And then it circles around and it also dumps into the coronary sinus. So small, great, and middle don't tell you much about where they are. So that's why I say memorize the arteries and then memorize what goes with what artery.
So the small, great, and middle all go into the
Coronary
sinus. Okay.
These are the only cardiac veins that do not go into the coronary sinus. These are anterior cardiac veins, and they're right in the front. They're draining the upper part of the right ventricle, and they're right in the front, so they just go right straight into the front of the right atria. They don't bother going around to the coronary sinus. So those are the coronary arteries and the cardiac veins, and that's what I've been going around and going through for all the students. So these will be labeled on these models. You know, probably I'll have one with labeling the ones on the front, and probably I'll have one with labeling the ones on the back. And then some of these other models I can have open and labeling valves or other structures inside of them.
Okay.
Where's the marginal one more time?
The marginal is in the margin, the right margin. So this is the right coronary artery, and this is the right margin, this place where this crack is in the model.
Okay.
And so, but it's where the anterior and posterior surface of the heart meet. And so that is that is the marginal artery with the blue small cardiac vein next to it.
Okay.
Everybody good? Any questions?
I guess on the practical, what types of like describing or questions?
Pardon me?
What questions are you gonna ask about like physiology
On the practical?
heart? Yeah, the practical, like what they dumped into, or
Oh.
you know what I mean, like label this. And
I
then
don't
what does this
consider
do?
that physiology,
Or,
but on the
yeah.
practical, I haven't written the practical, so I've got to look at it. But you mean similar to
I guess like
when I have